beloved, and welcome to this edition of Sitting with the Sister Minister. I am excited and delighted that you have joined us for another, what I consider to be informative conversation. Well, it's Women's History Month, and we are going to be starting a series where we salute our sisters, our senior sisters, our seasoned sisters throughout the year, and then by the time we get back next year, if the Lord says the same, we're going to have a big celebration right here on air. This is Church Talk TV. I am the Sister Minister, and I am excited to welcome our first guest in this series, a shero of mine for many years, an educator extraordinaire par excellence. Many of you talk about my diction, my elocution, and one of the things I tell people all the time, blame Mrs. Flemming. So we are happy to welcome our teacher, Mrs. Marian Flemming. Welcome, beloved.
Thank you.
Mrs. Flemming, you have educated just about, generations.
Yes, I have.
You hail from North Carolina.
Yes, I was born in Virginia.
Okay, born in Virginia.
But when I was 4 years old, my father moved us 20 miles across the border to North Carolina.
Okay.
So I grew up there.
And you went to the public schools there?
Yes. W.S. Creasy High School. Rich Square, North Carolina.
Rich Square, North Carolina.
It's near Rocky Mountain.
Okay, thank you. I was about to say, So your formative years were spent in North Carolina.
Yes.
Any siblings?
Yes. I had 3 brothers and a sister. I was the oldest.
Okay.
Then the 3 boys and my sister.
Right. Beautiful. And so share with us, Mrs. Flemming, we're in the 21st century.
Yes.
You came along in the early 20th.
1931.
Okay, well, see? And so you have seen a lot. I know you're well traveled. Let's talk a little bit about your formative time in North Carolina and what you see going on today in our country.
Well, actually, Seretta, when I think of today and yesterday, I am so happy that I was born at the time that I was. It was truly a different place. Our little town had probably 1,000 people.
Okay.
It was, of course, terribly segregated. But as for black people, we had our own schools,
Okay.
our own churches, our own businesses, and that gave us an incentive to work hard, maintain what we had, and add more to it.
So it was a real sense of community during that time, especially in the segregated South.
Oh, yes, a sense of community. It took Hillary Clinton to say it takes a village to raise a child. But the village did raise us.
Okay.
If you did something wrong at school, before you got home, everyone knew. Not just your mom and dad.
Sure.
But
Everybody.
everyone.
Sure.
And unlike parents today, parents did not feel that they couldn't tell you what to do and not to do.
That's right.
Even if they were not your parents.
Right. And because of that village.
Because of the village. Absolutely.
So now we look, and because you came along your formative years during Jim Crow.
Yes.
In that segregated South. And segregation was the law of the land, really.
Yes.
Still at that time, where voting was even not a right for us, per se.
Well, let me tell you a story about my father.
Okay.
He was a storekeeper. And he only had gone to the 3rd grade.
Okay.
Because he was one of 15 children.
Wow.
But he wanted to register to vote. When he went, he was given the Constitution to read. They would not permit him to register, but that didn't stop him.
Okay.
He kept going and finally gained the right to vote.
Beautiful. And so many of those stories are are within our communities, and our children need to hear them, as well as members of the community, because sometimes I think, Mrs. Flemming, there is a sense that, oh, all is well and we have arrived.
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, you've hit it right on the nail, Seretta. Yes. Minister Seretta.
Oh, no, please stop. Always will be Seretta. It's sort of like, with your mom, you're always going to be, no matter how old or what have you. But and I say that very fondly because I recall my freshman year at Syracuse University, and I had, for those of you, let me just share and set it up. Mrs. Flemming was my high school English teacher in the 12th grade. But in the 12th grade, I didn't take 12th grade English. Back in those days when education was really key, we had partnerships with the Roosevelt School District with universities.
Yes.
Syracuse was one of those universities that we were in partnership with. And Mrs. Flemming taught freshman English to those of us who were seniors and in the 12th grade. So I need for you to stay right there, beloved. Keep that thought, marinate on it for about 30 seconds, and we'll be right back. I'm sitting with Mrs. Marian Flemming. You're sitting with the Sister Minister. Be right back. All right, beloved, I told you we'd be right back. Sitting with the Sister Minister today is my teacher, Mrs. Marian Flemming, at Dr. Marian Flemming. And I was sharing with you, audience, a family, that in 12th grade, when I had English, it was with Mrs. Flemming, but I was taking freshman English actually from Syracuse University at that time, not knowing I would eventually attend Syracuse. Anyhow, my freshman year, I get to Syracuse. So as a freshman, I'm taking sophomore English now. And needless to say, I went into a complete tizzy when I had this major paper due. I couldn't remember anything. And it must have been, Mrs. Flemming, what was it, about 10, 11 o'clock at night?
About 11.
And all I could do in this panic was to call my English teacher, because that's the way our educators interacted with us, that they lived in our communities, the Black Belt of Long Island. They served, they shopped, they worshiped. We all were in a radius of a few miles. Anyhow, I called Mrs. Flemming and she answered the phone. Yes, Seretta. So when I told her it was me. And she would not write the paper for me.
I know.
But what Mrs. Flemming did, and I shall never forget it, she walked me through, made me think again. She acted as if I were in front of her in the classroom, and all those things came to remembrance. You walked me through it in terms of being able to get me back to thinking where I needed to be. And I want you to know I got a B+ on that paper. But I thank you so much because your commitment to education.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, in the area where I grew up, it was within a radius of 100+ miles. There were several colleges.
Okay.
And our school had been founded by a black man.
Wow.
Who actually had it as a boarding school.
Okay.
Before the county took over. So there were people from these colleges, Central in Durham, Virginia Union.
Okay, sure.
Elizabeth City State Teachers College.
Okay, okay.
And we would frequently have them as visitors at our school. And that made a tremendous difference.
Because when children can touch, when it's tangible, they can reach out and touch, they can see, and then see themselves.
Yes, yes.
How important is that?
It is all important. Yes. In fact, Seretta, when I went away to college, we were very poor. I took with me the hand-me-downs of my math teacher's daughter.
Wow. Okay.
And the teachers helped me pack. Can you believe that?
Sure, sure.
But they didn't simply do it for me. This was how close we were as parents teachers and students.
Right.
Yes.
Something that's missing today.
It's missing today.
Does the technology add to that, enhance that, or do you feel it's a hindrance when it comes to?
Now we don't have to go to the technology, do you? In some ways, it is a hindrance,
Yes.
but of course, there's so many advantages of the technology.
That's true.
Yes,
That's
yes,
true.
yes.
But I'm trying to get to a conversation that I've been having lately, Mrs. Flemming, is the idea of the disconnect. That there is a disconnect in our communities when it comes to education, when it comes to partnerships. Okay, let me do it this way. Let's fast forward to Parkland, Florida, and how now there is this major movement similar to the movement of students during the civil rights era.
Yes, yes.
So now we have this major movement where children are becoming involved
Yes.
in their own
Yes,
survival and
wonderful
future.
thing.
It's
Yes.
beautiful, right? And the technology has assisted that tremendously.
Yes, yes,
So in that instance, it's a good thing.
yes.
But then when you have somebody at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue tweeting out and appointing somebody like we have as the Secretary of Education,
Ah,
the technology doesn't necessarily have to be.
yes, yes. Now, my last experience was 3 years ago.
Okay.
When I finally retired. And
Completely?
Completely. And what was bothersome, Seretta, actually, was the fact that every student in every class had his own digital equipment.
Wow.
And that received more attention at times than the teaching. If you go into a restaurant, have you seen a family sitting and every person has
A device?
right, and the conversation is missing? That has had that's been problematic in teaching, because when you teach, you need to engage
Yes.
young people, and everyone has the right to speak, and you come together, you answer your questions. It isn't done that way now. And then going back to the famous computer, I've often said, I'm happy I don't have to teach another how to write a research paper. They go online
and
Go online.
Google and then sometimes don't even footnote properly that digital input.
Absolutely,
And so
absolutely.
what happens? Our critical thinking skills start to vanish.
Absolutely.
Our socialization
absolutely.
skills they vanish.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. We can carry on and go on and on and on, but I just wanted folk to meet you, those who didn't know you to greet you, and those who are going to be passing you now in the street or around the world as you travel, to know that Mrs. Marian Flemming is a shero, and we appreciate all that you have poured into our communities, our children, and into yours truly. What a blessing it is to have you here and to be able to have you share.
Thank you so much, Seretta.
We're going to have you back again.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
I was nervous. You didn't know that.
Oh, no, are you nervous? Come on. You're my English teacher. Are you kidding?
But thank you so much, Seretta,
Yes.
because there's so much we could talk about.
Absolutely.
So very, very much.
Well, we appreciate you, appreciate the family. Hi, Mr. Fleming. Certainly your girls. And
Sandra's waiting to hear it.
well, it's going to be online, beloved.
All right.
Thank you, Mrs. Fleming.
Thank you, Seretta.
We have had the privilege of sitting with Sister Marian Flemming, our English teacher, educator extraordinaire. We thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Sitting with the Sister Minister. Between now and next time, please stay blessed.